You want to stand up and do it?
Sure.
Oh, one second. No, one at a time.
One at a time. Okay.
I am stating that
I, Sean Drinkwine,
you solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws
that I will support the Constitution and laws
of the United States and state of Oregon
of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the charter and ordinance of the city of Estacada,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Estacada,
and will well and truly perform the duties
that well and truly perform the duties
of the office of mayor to the best of my ability.
of the office of mayor to the best of my ability.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, who wants to be next? Okay. I am going to say your name.
I, Jonathan Metcalf,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws
that I will support the constitutional laws
of the United States and state of Oregon
of the United States and the states of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Estacada,
and the charters and ordinances of the city of Estacada,
and I will well and truly perform the duties
and I will well and truly perform the duties
of the office of city councillor to the best of my ability.
of the office of city councilor to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. All right. I am in say your name.
I, John Dolzall,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws
that I will support the Constitution and the laws
of the United States and state of Oregon
of the United States and the state of Oregon
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Estacada,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Estacada,
and will well and truly perform the duties
and will well and truly perform the duties
of the office of city councillor
of the office of city councilor
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, let's get this show on the road. Okay, first on the list, we have the Pledge of Allegiance. So let's
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Dolzall,
Here.
Counselor McElroy,
Here.
Counselor Metcalf,
Here.
Counselor Prokop. Here. Counselor Strobel,
Here.
Counselor Tenbush,
Here.
and Mayor Drinkwine.
Here, thank you very much for that. Okay, we are at the first citizen and community group comment session. We have Shirley Burke. If you'd like to come up to the microphone, please. Okay, let's go ahead and start it down there.
Hi, I am presenting this plaque to go in the Estacada Skate Park next to the memorial bench for Hayden Schaefer that was put up in 2013. And we would like to put this to give the other kids a message who they can call in case of suicide thoughts or anything. Hayden killed himself in 2013. Okay, we put that bench in 2013. And we just now, Hayden's grandmother paid to have this bench restored, $500. We would like to put the sign up behind the bench, and my husband and Chris will put it up on a 4x4. They'll do the work. But we'd also like for a percentage of that $500 to come back to his grandmother, because that is part of the maintenance of the park, is to keep the benches up. And Northwest Technology went in and they completely sanded it, primered it, painted it, and super coated it. So it shouldn't be damaged for a while, but it's lasted 10 years. So I really hope you guys will consider that.
Well, I think that's
Thank-
something we can
thank
all
you.
come together on. I see this as being a good thing. It's to remind the kids that there are other ways to get through in times of like this. So we will talk, I don't know, does council feel any different about that? Is that something we can stand behind and support? All right, see, it's a good thing you're doing, Shirley. And does that sound like something that Melanie would be on board with? I don't know, she's not here, so I'm looking to you for,
Yeah, I'm sure we can post the sign. I
All
think
right,
that
great.
that's not an issue. I don't know about the
Reimbursement.
reimbursement. I'd have to look at the.
yeah, we'll look into that, but
Yeah.
we figure something out. Okay, thank you for that. And next thing I don't have any more speaker requests in front of me. Are there any online before I move on? Okay, so first, we're at the consent agenda. You've all had a chance to read over the consent agenda. Are there any questions? Or would you like to move something out of the consent into council business at this time? Not seeing anything. Okay, can I get a motion on the floor, please?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a first? Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. I'm not sure which one was first. It was Dozel and Mike.
That's right.
Mike.
That's a little bad, yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, not a problem. Okay, so I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much for that. The consent is now passed. We're at the department and committee reports. Do any of you have any of your groups you want to report on prior to this? I mean, it's been a busy time of year. I don't know if you've had a chance to really dive into it, but
I
no.
do something.
Okay.
Yeah. The DEIC met, and they reviewed a letter of support for a grant project from T-Mobile that aims to improve accessibility at Wade Creek Park. So they're looking to get the grant of up to $50,000 to pave the paths in the park, making them more accessible for individuals. And they discussed ongoing efforts to distribute Narcan. And Metro is buying Eagle Creek Golf Course. And so they would like City Council and DEIC to be a part of that as being stakeholders for that. So just something to think about, and I hope that comes up for us.
For a dump or?
They haven't revealed what they want to do with it. We'll see.
Okay, the history of Metro, they buy a lot of outside areas and they hang on to them for a while, but yeah,
Yeah, I got one too.
sure. Okay, I'll hit Jerry first, then. And then you-
The Downtown Estacada Commission met and decided on what projects to move forward with for the can't remember the name, the Main Street project, the Main Street program, grants. There's a $400,000 grant that they issue to a city based on, Main Street improvement. And the two that were decided on were the tax office on Main Street or on Broadway, and then the upstairs of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu building. Those are the two projects that they decided to move forward with, I believe. And so those will be going through, staff will be putting the grant application through to Main Street program to get the 400,000 so that they can, and it'll be split, not evenly split, because one project's gonna be a lot more money than the other one. So.
The money's already awarded.
No, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
This is a competitive grant
Application, right?
process, yes. So
yeah.
we're applying for the
Yeah, we're
grant through
applying
Main
for the
Street.
grant.
And those were our sub applicants that the city the DEC selected on behalf of the city.
And they're both amazing projects. And the one building hasn't been renovated since the 70s. So it's a very deserving building for this, that's the tax office.
Yeah, oh yeah. That building's barely standing.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that. All right. So,
Yeah. So traffic and public safety met, and they got a lot of things going on, but a couple highlights. They have a first aid class that they're pretty excited about that's coming up here very soon. I think there's a pretty good amount of this weekend or what?
This past weekend.
This past weekend they did, excuse me, thank you, sorry. This past weekend they did the first aid class, and they were pretty excited about that. And then as well, one thing that they needed from council on support was just they're wondering about what they, like, what procedure they should go about finding out what's been done with their list, right? So they've taken our charge and went and put together lists and suggestions and things like that that's been presented to Dawn and city staff, and they're just wondering about how to go about finding out about the things that haven't been addressed, where they're at, when to do it, what the process is. They're just trying to streamline more, and they just want to know city council's direction for that. If they're bark on right thing, do you want them to keep making lists because there's still stuff that's not addressed? You know, how do we want to go about it? So and maybe you could comment on this a little bit better as well, considering that you just were
Well-
the chair there, former chair.
Actually, in getting ready for this, there was discovered a glitch in the traffic public safety email. And so Sadie's been emailing me frequently wanting a update of what we've accomplished in the community so far, and I never saw. So that might be a great opportunity to list out all the different things that we've done, and then follow up from that list.
Yeah, and I believe that they'll have something to present to council soon
Okay.
with.
All right, so I think we direct it towards staff first to get us the list of what it is they've put forward so far, what we've actually
Yeah.
pushed forward.
On their next agenda is their project plan review from the list of things that they had last year. And then Dawn included a report back on the projects that have been completed by the city.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
at their next meeting.
I had seen that report and I was kind of wondering, I thought it had gone to this past meeting, but it's going to the
No,
coming. meeting.
The
Okay.
upcoming meeting.
So good. And then, yeah, they can reach out directly to me or to Dawn. We can work on that to make sure that if they have questions, we can get them answered. A lot of it is prioritizing, and we kind of kick things back to them to prioritize. And we get through as much as we can. So
And
Okay.
some of their projects are long-term. So if they're identifying, say, an intersection and it's going to cost $2-3 million, that's identified a long-term project. It's not going to be something that's going to be done in a year. And then it was identified in the TSP as one of the projects for the long-term planning.
Okay, and when we say long-term, how long-term are we talking?
Well, it depends. So like the roundabout Eagle Creek area, I mean, that was identified in the TSP, and we're looking at that one probably in the next potentially couple years.
Okay. All right,
But for like school zones.
Like the
and
school zone crossings,
crossings
yeah, those short-term things.
in the speed zone, I think that was more of their comments. They weren't so much worried about a roundabout that's not here quite yet, but they want to get more involved with how can we specifically regarded to River Mill, looking at what we could do, what our options would be. Can the city maybe get together with the school district and talk about our options to maybe do a safety campaign to say, highlight the street, right? Like vinyl that whole section, since we can't take the street. Can we do some kind of safety campaign? That would, obviously we'd need to involve the school district. There's a lot more to it, but
Mhm.
in the preliminary of it, what was discussed is how can we go about, if we bring these things to you and we meet with these other entities, how can we ensure that they get done or present them with a timeline that it be accomplished within? That was what they wanted our support for.
yeah, that sounds fair enough.
Yeah.
It is definitely, I think these are some that are priorities that we should bump a little faster than others, obviously, so I'm in agreement with that. So going forward, we'll probably put something together like that. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say on larger projects like that, because I know we've done a lot of work in the school zones and Dawn has gotten a lot of things taken care of there. However, on a bigger project like that, we might want to see it. The council also confirm, yes, this is something we want staff spending time on to kind of bump that to the top.
Okay.
But yeah, we can definitely
All right,
bring that to goal setting and things like that.
yeah, and we do have a goal setting coming up, by the way, so.
It could clean things up every committee, not just in this.
Oh,
one
yeah,
camp,
Right.
I
Right,
think-
every committee, if we could just have a streamlined thing, it would just make it cleaner. If they submit, they need support in this manner or what. I don't know. There's
Oh,
just
yeah.
something that was presented and I said I'd bring it up, so.
No, that's good. That's good. You know, I think getting back to having committees present to us too is something we need to do.
Yeah.
I enjoy staff having it all written down at the same time. It makes it go faster, but I did enjoy having these committees come in front of us with their proposals and telling us what they've accomplished or where they'd like to go with this. I don't know, it gives me more clarity. I don't know about you, if you feel the same way, but
I like it.
yeah.
It's in the code that they come to you quarterly.
Yeah, but we've done a few where they just written in what they,
Mhm.
you know, and I
We
think,
have done some written ones, yeah.
yeah, I think we need to get back to the presenting.
to physically
Yeah.
presenting.
All right. You got one?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
update from so I got an update for the Economic Development Committee. They met, they discussed 2 applicants for the vacancy that was open, and they recommended David Cross to that position for this, at this time. There's likely to be some more openings coming up on that committee, so there might be another opportunity for that other candidate to apply again, as well as other people that were interested that missed the opportunity. They also discussed the timing of the next business events. They want to have those larger business events twice a year move. They want to talk about moving the event that happened in December to October, closer to fall, make it a fall and spring event to help with participation rates and to get more people in here. We had it in December, right in the middle of the holiday season, and we had a good turnout for our first event, but we'd like to see it get a little bit better. And then the committee gave feedback and discussed the mission statement, discussed the need for workforce housing was pretty heavily discussed in there, that we trying to move businesses out here, but we don't have the workforce to support those businesses, and the workforce that's going to be working at those places can't afford the housing out here. And so that was talked about quite a bit as well. And then I'd take off. That was it.
Thank you for that update. Okay, that's all the committees I have. So Melanie, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay, great. I did not put together a full presentation tonight. I just wanted to do, first of all, remind you that we have our goal setting. It's a little later this year than normal. So it's going to be February 2nd, which is a Sunday from noon to 4. We'll be in this room and line out the goals for the coming year. And then we have Josh Brown on Zoom with us tonight, and wanted to provide a bit of an update on how the Walker to Arrow garbage service transition is going. We are making some progress, and I will let Josh give you most of the details, but just wanted to say I appreciate all the effort that is going into this from Arrow to make it as smooth as possible. There are a few glitches that have happened. I think today when we talked, they had about a third of the customers switched over. So we just wanted to highlight anybody watching this or pass the word that it's important for if Walker was the company providing your garbage service, you'll need to sign up with Arrow because it doesn't transfer directly over. And so that's an action you have to take to contact Arrow to do that. And they've been leaving flyers and doing personal outreach to some businesses, things like that, that Josh can talk about. But also, just to confirm, there is one price citywide that is approved by council, because the solid waste franchise that includes the garbage, recycle, and now yard debris, it's a franchised program, and the cost is negotiated and then approved by council. And so unlike other franchises that we have, like with PGE or Cascade Utilities and Reliance Connects, those they operate on their own. They're part of a public utility council, like the PUC has to, like for PGE, things like that. But with garbage, it's locally handled. So typically every year, we'll take a look at what the rates are, what the costs are, what inflation is happening. We also utilize a lot of information that the county provides, because they do they manage the entire county. Anybody that's not in a city, you might be, anyone who's living out in the county, their garbage service is franchised by Clackamas County. So we follow that and to keep track of, what their recommendation are for rates, but it is something that has to be approved by city council. And so if Walker customers are making the switch and finding out that, it's different, it's not that Arrow has a different price. It's probably just this last year and a half has been a bit crazy for Walker, and they probably just didn't get their rates caught up to what they were supposed to be. So if you have questions, Arrow can talk with you. You can call me at City Hall. But everybody should be paying the same rate across the board. There should be no differences. So, and Josh, do you want to fill us in on some other details of how that process is going?
Sure. Can you
Yes, we can hear you.
hear me? Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks, Melanie and Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Good to see you all again. Hope you all had a good holidays. I think, Melanie explained it quite well. I think, you know, we're definitely going to have some hiccups, but we're working with the walkers as closely as we can. And we have effectively used a lot of the information that we received from Melanie and city staff to set up accounts and get as many as possible into our billing system. So we're working hard at that. I know my office staff is quite busy and worked through the weekend to continue progress. So working hard at that. I think the rate piece that Melanie mentioned has been a topic of discussion. So Melanie, thank you for kind of covering that component. We have had people in the field for the last several days, last week and the first part of this week, meeting with customers individually, the commercial accounts. And we've also tagged every cart in the field with our contact information. So as of now, I think it's going smooth, and we're going to just keep working towards it and communicating with as many customers as we can via phone or call blasts and different means of communication. So happy to answer any questions or yeah. So
And we might have a couple questions here.
First question, Josh, is do you feel like you got 100% complete list of customers from Walker?
No, we haven't got a complete list of customers from Walker. What we are currently working off of was some information that the city shared on water hookups. And we're directly going out and looking where they're, looking at customers where there's containers and getting as much info from the field as possible. I know Kim is really busy, and, this is a tough transition for them as well. But we have been in touch with her on getting as much information as possible as we can from her. So,
Yeah, I'm just concerned that are they still answering their phones at Walker? So that customers that don't know what's going on and didn't get their trash picked up, they don't know to switch over yet. Their first thing they're going to probably do is call Walker. Is someone answering that phone? Or is there a message on there at least letting them know that they're no longer in business and who to call?
yeah, I would say currently she is answering the phone. We've been communicating with her via that line as well as her cell phone. So I think she's doing the best she can to answer the phones. And to that point, Counselor, I think one thing we've discussed with Walker is as soon as the completion of the transaction goes forward, we will be taking over that phone line, and that will be directly sent to our Arrow office. So anyone that calls that phone line after the end of January will be directed to our office either way.
Do you think that they would be receptive to putting a recording on there for the times when they don't answer the phone? Just so that someone has an answer of what's going on?
Yeah, I can certainly check with Kim on that and see what that looks like on her end. As of now, we don't have control of that, but I'll definitely reach out to her and talk to her about that phone part.
It'd be just really helpful for those customers that are struggling to figure out what's going on and maybe aren't on social media to see posts and stuff like that. So thank you.
Yeah, we can reach out on that. Also, we have an article that'll come out not an article, but we've been putting stuff in the newspaper every other week typically. And we can highlight this also in case some of our folks who aren't social media readers are still newspaper readers. Then they'll maybe see it there too.
Maybe get some signs up at the grocery store and all over the place. Post office, just places that people frequent.
And Josh, I got to tell you, your rep in the field was really good. He drove right up to our house and everybody's house on that lane and hung those flyers, and he was talking to everybody and letting them know that, how to get a hold of everybody. And then we did that right away. We actually called Arrow and got the account set up. It was very easy, very simple, very fast. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that.
Good. Thank you for that feedback. I will share that with our office staff. That's great to hear.
Anything else?
I mean, we could support by blasting multiple posts on social media from our page as well, right? Over the next, say, 3 weeks.
And I think
or
we
something like
have, the
that.
city has put out a few.
The city has, and you feel welcome to share that if you
Yeah.
That's
want
what I
to.
thought. We'll just keep continuing to
Oh,
blast.
yeah. Much as possible. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Josh? Josh, we thank you for joining in tonight and helping us with this. I think it'll go pretty smooth. I'm glad to have you on board, and I hope to a happy future with you. And good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you
Josh.
for having me.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, that's all I have.
That's all you have
Unless
tonight?
anybody had questions about anything.
All right. Any questions for Melanie before she goes? No?
Well,
All
I'll be
right.
here, but in my
Before she
report.
goes offline.
Yes.
Okay, council business is what we're at right now. We are at elect council president. So do I have a nominee on the floor?
I nominate Councilman McElroy. Mike McElroy, please.
All right, Mike. I
Second.
nominate. Was that a yay out of you already?
A second.
Oh, a second. And I got a second. Are there any more nominations? Or was that it? That's what we're going with? Okay, I have a second.
I'll nominate Jerry Tenbush.
All right. So we got two on there. So how do I go about that? Just run the first one and, yeah.
Yep, we
Okay.
gotta get a second on that second one, I guess, and then do the first vote and the
All right.
second vote, so you'll pick which one you want to vote yes on.
All right, we'll start with Jerry. Can I get a second on Jerry?
Second.
Yeah, I've got a second on Jerry. We'll do a roll call vote on that.
Okay.
I think
On
we
Jerry.
would do,
Do.
Mike was nominated and seconded first, so he would be
You want to do that one first?
up first.
Mike.
And then, if he doesn't get a majority of the votes, then we would move to the second one.
All right, we'll do that. Then we'll go.
Yeah, and I
McElroy
think that
first.
it's a harmless vote, I think, so it's not like a vote against anybody,
just
but just.
Clarify, we had two people nominated. Are they both
Yeah,
open
McElroy
to?
can go
Yeah.
First.
I know, are they both open to the position?
I would rather Jerry did it, but I'll do it if I need to step into it. Yeah. It's not a
Okay.
problem at all.
All right,
Ready?
roll call vote on
Um,
McElroy.
Counselor Dolzall,
Yes.
Counselor McElroy,
It's voting
or
for
do you vote?
myself.
Can you vote for
You can,
You vote
you
for
can
yourself.
vote for yourself, yeah.
I'm a no.
Counselor Metcalf,
Yes.
Counselor Prokop,
No.
Counselor Strobel,
No.
Counselor Tenbush,
No.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 yes and 4 no.
So the motion fails, so we'll do the
That's right.
second motion for, all right, for Jerry.
Jerry's got it.
Do we need to just
don't-
do ayes,
Yeah,
for that?
we'll do ayes. Jerry Tenbush. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There you go,
Any
Jerry.
opposed? Was there any opposed? Nobody opposed. Okay,
He's in.
all right. Thank you, everybody. I know Mayor Drinkwine is here 99% of the time. So, yeah, but just in case. good to
But you
have
know
somebody.
what? I think I'll take a vacation. We're gonna put you up there.
You know, I at the, I think it was at the dinner, I said that I would like to experience it at least once. I've said no a few times in the past, but I decided that I want to experience it at least 1 year as council president. I really appreciate I really appreciate you guys and the work we do. And, I, like I said, I'd like to experience it at least once during my term.
All right. Well, it's gonna get exciting now.
Congratulations.
That's right. Congratulations. Be careful what you wish for, though. Right? All right. So we have council president in play. We are now at the water master plan adoption. And I know this involves a lot, so we've got Melanie, you want to say anything on this before?
I'll just want to introduce Kurt McLeod. He's our city engineer with Kern McLeod. And previously he had brought the water master plan to the council. Council gave him the go-ahead to send it to the state. State has sent it back saying that it meets the requirements. And so now it's ready to be adopted. And Kurt is here to talk a little bit about that and answer any questions that folks might have.
Very good. My partner, Ed Hodges, has been overseeing the project. He broke his ankle last week. So he's walking on crutches and now he sits in the office with his foot up on a stool. So he couldn't be here tonight.
Is that microphone on? Can you tap it a little bit? Oh, it
It
is.
is
Okay.
on. Do I
All right,
need to
good.
get closer? Do I need to?
Maybe a little closer.
How's that? That's
Good.
better.
Perfect.
Let's put my mouth right on it. Okay. I wanted to give you just a quick overview. As Melanie mentioned, the ODOT, or rather Oregon Health Authority approved the master plan last month in December. So the next step is we wanted to bring it back to you, give you an overview, a chance to ask questions about your water system. I was going to give you just a quick overview. We've talked about it briefly a couple of times, I think. but I'm going to walk you through the four components of the water system. So our source, we currently have a source for 2.6 million gallons of water out of the Clackamas River. And that'll last us through, if we consider peak days, to meet a peak day, which is very conservative, saying we're going to replace whatever water is used on a day-by-day basis for a peak day, we can support a population of about 10,000 population. So I put it in population terms as opposed to years, because you know how the population growth varies, but we can relate to population. Our population now is, I think, around 5,500 or so. On an average day, we could meet 18,000 population. So when we have storage, that allows us to mitigate those peak day demands. So our source out of the Clackamas River can meet 10,000 population peak day and 18,000 average day. Treatment, we have currently we have a 2 MGD nominal 2 MGD water treatment plant with rapid sand filters. We've had several challenges in components of the plant where our effective treatment capacity is about 1.6 million gallons a day. We've had some peak days where we approach 1.4 on a peak day. So we know we're approaching a time where we need to think about expanding the plant. Now we've got several projects this year that are addressing capacity. So we're replacing a pump, raw water pump. That was one of our limitations. We're replacing the header and the pipe coming up from the river, which reduces head loss and gives us more capacity with all of our pumps. We're doing some safety improvements with the new access to the river also. I think that they're also replacing the media in half of the existing units. So what we're recommending is we convert our plant to a membrane treatment plant, but we're recommending you salvage half of the existing plant and remove half of the plant. And that gives us enough footprint to retrofit a membrane plant into the existing building. Distribution system, the master plan is recommending we create a new pressure zone for the industrial park. So actually the industrial park and extending all the way up to Eagle Creek Road. So you can picture where you climb the hill. Below that hill, the pressures exceed 120 PSI. So we're in mechanical code asks for the pressures to be kept under 85. Otherwise you have to have a individual pressure reducing valve installed on each house. And of course it makes it easier to maintain pipes when they're not high pressure. So we proposed locations for pressure reducing valve stations that will ultimately keep the industrial park down below 100 PSI. Distribution system, let me talk about last component is storage. So we currently have 1.9 million gallons of storage. Using the state's criteria as to how much storage we should have, we're deficient by about 350,000 gallons. And we've got plans prepared right now, ready to go to bid for a new storage tank that will extend our adequacy quite a few years into the future. We're waiting for a property owner to confirm the size of the tank. The county has required that we maintain a 30-foot buffer around our tank for fire protection. So we're working with the property owner to see if we can allow that 30-foot buffer to extend past our fence line and cover his farm road. So he just has a farm road paralleling the fence. We're hoping that he just allows us to extend that 30-foot buffer to take advantage of having a farm road. There'd be no plants in that range anyway. We're allowed to grow plants under 24 inches tall, but as you know, we're in a Christmas tree farm where that reservoir is being located. So that would be very limiting to not be able to grow a facility over 24 inches, a plant over 24 inches. So let me talk about the population projections are really the key to how much pain we're going to be in if we saw huge growth. It was 3 years ago that we saw 11.5% growth. Since then, it's come down. So 2 years ago, it was 4.4, and last year was 4.0. So the wastewater system had a facility plan drawn, and they generated new population projections. They used 3.1%. So that's what we've used in the master plan. And when we use that 3.1%, our 2.6 million gallon capacity will last for the 20 years of our master plan. Thank you. Number 2. So interesting too, the Portland State University projected 1.5% for the city of Estacada maybe for the next few years, and then they dropped to 1.1% as we look at 50 years into the future. So I think and that's been the same projections they use for the last 10 years too. So we know that those are not accurately reflecting what we need to prepare for. So our next steps tonight, I wanted to just answer any questions you have on on the whole water system, and then talk about the next steps. So one of the things I mentioned before is that we've had 37% losses. So the average amount of water that we lose between the production meter and the meters that we sell to the residents is averaged 37% for the last 5 years. So one of the key things we put into the capital improvement plan was to identify and repair leaks. So we've recommended that we budget $250,000 for that as we approach the budget season coming up here shortly. And that would allow us to identify where these leaks are and to repair a lot of leaks. So we've looked at 2 different systems. It's pretty conventional to use acoustics. So you go out and you put amplifying mechanisms on fire hydrants, and you hear where leaks are happening. The leaks make noise, and so they use that noise to narrow down where those leaks are between hydrants. So there's people who provide that service, and typically what they would do is you just choose a number of hydrants that are maybe your most troublesome area. It costs about $25,000 to get started, which would do about 20 hydrants to get started in that program. Another thing that's more recent is satellite imagery that they're using. So the Portland metropolitan area and a lot of the surrounding communities have gone together to do satellite image, where from the satellite, they can identify leaks in your water system. So what the satellite does is just gives them a rough idea, and then they have to field proof it with the acoustical people out in the field also. But it allows them to narrow it down. So in your case, maybe it isn't as effective because your system is so small that you can use acoustic on the whole system to find where your leaks are. If you're a system the size of the city of Portland, that the satellite can narrow it down to areas they should concentrate on. But if we were to join Portland Water Bureau, which they've encouraged us to do, a lot of surrounding communities have joined them in this. The cost would be maybe $40,000 to $45,000 for them to actually pinpoint where the leaks are. So the $25,000, if we do acoustic, I think we would be quite successful. Don, I'm sure, has a good handle for where he thinks the leaks are, that we would be able to get started. So that's one thing that's important. I think we can get started on that very quick. It's in our capital improvement plan. Hopefully next year we can tackle, similar to wastewater, we're working all the time on infiltration and inflow also. So the other thing in that capital improvement plan, the other major component, is the water treatment plant. So we think we're going to be making improvements that recover that 2 million gallon nominal capacity that we have. So that buys us time. We'll identify leak repair, so that'll lower the demand. So both of those will buy us time. But in the next few years, we need to be expanding the water treatment plant. So the recommendation is to remove 2 of the older filters that are in the building and replace them with membrane filters, which they're just a vertical tube of membranes all tightly packed onto a rack, a steel rack, that'll fit inside the building. So it's very cost effective to convert to membranes. So we've prepared a cost estimate that what we're saying, your total capital improvement plan, we should anticipate funding for a 1 to 5 years is $12.8 million. So, and that number includes, we inflated that to 2027 numbers. So the water treatment plant itself, currently the cost would be under $8 million for the plant. The actual membranes that we're buying, the modules, would only be about $3 million, the cost of the modules. The rest of it is building modifications. We need to do office space. We need to do bathrooms. So that's the thing that we should think about moving ahead with. So some of the earlier aspects of that would be to perhaps survey the site that we have down there so we can identify the building configuration and size, and then go out and purchase equipment so we can avoid a long lead time on membranes. So if we want to get the plant maybe operational in 2026, we'd want to go out and identify and purchase the membranes this year.
Thank you for that.
Are there any questions?
You got several.
Paul?
You'd mentioned the raw water pump and the header from the Clackamas River. Those are two projects that can be started immediately.
Well, they're already in process. Actually, they'll be done in the next couple of months.
So will that help at all with some of the issues that we face over the summer?
Well, it'll allow us to produce more water in a day. Yes. And so instead of 1.6, we'll see what we can produce, 1.8 or 2 million gallons. So certainly that will help us in the summertime. But like I mentioned, I think our peak days were 1.4 last year. But now if we have this added capacity at the plant, we'll be able to go up to 2, 1.8, 1.9, or 2 million gallons a day. So certainly that helps. Yes.
And we're hoping these will be done or expecting these to be done in the next couple.
In
of
this
months.
fiscal year, they'll be done in
Okay.
this fiscal year.
Great.
Okay, John, you have a question?
Yeah, and if this is not the right form, let me know, but
Hmm.
regarding the water plan and distribution, I thought I read in like the hazard mitigation report that one of the vulnerabilities we had was lack of redundancy in certain areas. And so my question is, it's something I think was like a 10-inch pipe going somewhere. And so the question is, with new developments, is that redundancy built in? And then are there any plans to go back and make redundant the areas of vulnerability?
And they certainly are. And those were identified in the facility, in the master plan also. We've got 2 major areas of growth that have no redundancy. So our entire high level system, which feeds all of the area like north of River Mill, all the way to the east boundary of the urban growth boundary, that's fed by one pipeline. So one reservoir and one pipeline. We do have 2 pump stations that feed into that system. So if the reservoir were to fail, we have 2 pump stations that could maintain the flow. But we have no redundant pipelines. And the same with the industrial park. The industrial park currently has one pipeline that comes from Lakeshore Drive to feed the entire industrial park. So the master plan's identified multiple routes to create that redundancy. We anticipate this year that there's one developer along Eagle Creek Road who's proposing to extend that water line from the Campanella development up to close to Deuce Road. So that will provide redundancy for all the residential areas that are east of Eagle Creek Road. But the industrial park won't happen until we get a pipeline down River Mill or down Deuce to cross the highway.
So follow-up then would be, what impact would that have on the ability to fight fires?
Well, every place we have a water line, we have fire protection. So we can easily meet the fire protection needs at all the hydrants that we have. So the only reason that would impact fire protection is if we had a failure, a pipeline failure. But if we have a pipeline failure, we could have as many as maybe 1,000 homes out of water too. So it'd be an urgent repair we would make. Yeah. So as long as the pipes are intact, we have fire protection at all the hydrants, available to all the hydrants.
Those are great questions, seeing what California is going through with hydrants.
Exactly
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Right. That's a perfect question to ask. Right. Any other questions on this side? No? Mike?
Do you know what the dollar value of 37% loss is for the water?
Mm.
It seems like what we're spending to try to fix the issue is like tiny compared to the problem.
It is. And we talked about that, I think, in the report. I don't recall the numbers, but yes, if we spend $250,000, we're delaying our $12 million project. But then I also recognize that there's a limited return on that. So if we were down at 20% or 15%, that would be ideal. But still, that to pick up 15% or 18%, very cost effective. So compared to buying new treatment plant.
Well, does it translate though? So a 20% reduction in loss, would that translate in the peak day event with 10,000 people, just an even number? Would that 20% equal 12,000 person population
Yes.
capacity?
Yes. Yeah. If we see right now, we're seeing 140 gallons per capita per day on average, but the actual demand from meters is only about 70. So our production is 140 gallons per capita per day. Our actual metered consumption is only 70 gallons per capita per day. So yeah, if we were able to reduce those losses, that 10,000 goes to 12,000 or 14,000.
Do you know how much the equipment is that that we would have to hire a different company to come out and do the acoustics on the pipelines? How much is the equipment to purchase it for our public works department to be able to use it?
I looked at that. The acoustical equipment is about $7,000 to buy. So yeah, your crew could do that if we wanted to purchase the equipment ourselves.
I would be really interested in buying that equipment as much as we need to be able to get through our water system within the next 24 months.
Mhm.
If they need 2 or 3 of them, and then staffing up to get all that work done, that's gonna be just a ton of money saved.
Yeah.
If you, I mean, if you basically 37%, if you took all the water bills for last year and took 50% of that, that's a third increase in that. So it's like, it's a crazy amount of money.
Right.
So yeah, I'd really like to
With
see
you
that
on
happen.
one. I think all of us would be
Mhm.
kind of on that. I think that's something the city, as it's growing, we need to have that anyway, so that would make sense going forward. Peter.
One of my cities is at 3% loss. So I mean, it just seems like it would be incredibly
That's
cost
impressive.
effective in order to, setting aside water theft, because I assume some of that's happening, that people are filling up tankers at a hydrant or wherever. But setting aside that, if we can bring that number down, it seems like it would generate significant savings versus $12.8 million.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. Any other questions on it?
I got one more too.
Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. Mike.
The membranes that we were talking about sourcing for the water treatment, are they only available from one source from one country?
No.
I know when we were talking about the sewer plant, the membranes, that was the case with some of them.
Yeah, no, there's multiple providers. There's multiple companies that would compete to provide the membranes for you. We would recommend Westech. We have a lot of experience with Westech out of Utah. But that's one of the first steps we should do, is just go out for proposals, say who wants to supply membranes, what would they cost?
And then one last thing is, how much room was left when you used the 3.1% population growth for 20 years? How much buffer did you have between the maximum?
Day?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a table in the report that has, you're right at 2.6. What I did was looked at the table, said, okay, when do we need 2.6 million gallons per day peak flow? And that was around 2042, 2043. So.
I was just trying to figure out if there's a number of percentage of growth that if we see it early on, if it would be worrisome right off the bat, we would just know. Is it 5% a scary number for growth, or when do we need to look back at it to see if it's still accurate?
Well, if you recognize your 2 million gallons per day capacity will carry you to 2042, I don't think you need to worry about growth. I think that we saw that 11% 3 years ago. That's worrisome. If we had 11% year after year, it'd be very accelerated. We'd have to move into improvements quicker. But we're seeing it taper down, and the wastewater master plan gives me some comfort in it. They use 3.1 after their analysis. And then Portland State used 1.5, which shocks me, but but still it's an indication that an 11% growth rate is really not sustainable. That's just huge. So the economies have changed in 3 years, money has changed. So mortgage rates are different. It's quite a different world, I think.
Thank you, Kurt.
All right. Any other questions? No? Okay, all right, back over to you.
So do we just need a motion to adopt that plan then? And
Okay.
motion and a second to adopt the water master plan as it presented?
Go ahead.
I don't like what I've moved to adopt.
Okay.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Kurt.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you for the discussion, council
Yeah.
also.
That was good, in depth.
Mhm.
Right. We're at Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Commission appointments. They're comfortable with who they've put forward. Is that something that we need to discuss, or?
There's a small discussion. So
Okay.
the DEIC is the only committee in the code that has a requirement for a 1 year of residency prior to being appointed. Both of their applicants, for the youth applicant, you can appoint right now, but both of the adult applicants have been here less than a year. And so they are requesting that you would update the code to remove that line about the 1 year residency requirement prior to appointment. And then they could be appointed after that change of code goes into place.
Okay. You've heard the discussion, council. Were there any questions to that?
Just to clarify, these two applicants would be eligible on any other commission that we have. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're both live inside the Estacada School District boundaries.
I don't recall the discussion when that requirement was put, into the code for this committee. I have a feeling there was I could go back and look, but I hadn't researched that to see what the discussion was. However, all of the other committees do, they just, council, when you're elected, you have to be, and I think appointed to you have to live here for a year. But all of our other committees are, as soon as you're here, we'll take you as a volunteer. And so that would just be a question how the council feels about that for the DEI committee also.
Okay. Council?
Yeah, I think that they should all be the same. And, what better way as we grow to hear from new citizens than to actually hear from new citizens?
I agree with that. Everybody else?
I like the idea of it all being the same, but my preference would be for it to go the other way.
Oh, all
So-
committees and commissions? that you
Yeah,
think of?
I didn't realize that there wasn't a 1-year requirement on some of those committees. Maybe it's just my lack of knowledge on that, but I would think that you'd want someone that's been in the community for a period of time to start giving you feedback on what the city should look like. Can't imagine someone being here for like 2 weeks and then joining a committee and, I don't know. I just don't picture it.
Helping decide the fate
Yeah.
of the future. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
I'm in,
How does council feel about that?
yeah, I'm in complete agreement with Councilman McElroy on this one. I think that you need, and I'm good with making this across the board as well with all the committees, but I think you need to have been here and see how it works. If there is something you want to see change, like go through the process of trying to see it change, right? Give it a work, see how the wheels are working here and where we can improve from being here. I don't necessarily want somebody to come here and then maybe bring their experiences from another community and how things were going in another community and then jump right into influencing how this community should be going forward when they're not aware where we're at. So I think 1 year is should stand.
Well, I understand that the year requirement that you're in favor of, but it is hard to get volunteers. It's a committee, so it's not one person making a decision. So everybody comes together to make things and we decide as a council that they're fulfilling it. So I feel like it would be best if we just went across the board and just let anybody join at any time.
Jerry, you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I understand how it's really hard to get volunteers. We haven't seen a lot of applicants, for these committees and commissions. And, I tried to, put the idea out there that we need just a volunteer committee, or just a committee not even a committee, just a group to get together and get ideas about how we can get more volunteers in our community. And I think, limiting people that move to the community, making them wait a year, to be a volunteer, I don't like the idea. I'd like to just eliminate the 1 year.
John, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I understand what they're saying, but growth, we've got so much growth coming and I fall back on we want to hear what our new citizens think about what's going on here. I also agree with Heidi in this instance that they're on committees, they're part of a group, and then they're coming up with a consensus as a group, and then we decide. And so, and again, with Jerry also, there's I hate to say it this way, but they're all excited to get involved in the city. Maybe they'll volunteer. We got them. And then they start getting involved with other things as well. So I don't see the harm in not requiring 1 year for that particular committee.
Well,
I'm in agreement with John and Jerry and Heidi on this one. This just brings us in line with what the other commissions have currently and have had as well too, and have had, to my knowledge, without any real issues that have been faced over time. I think the idea is good if we were to have some more stringent things in there, but the reality is that we're having trouble filling the commissions now. I think for the issue that we're talking about tonight, which is for the DEI commission, I'm fine waiving it, bringing them in line with other ones. And then if we do want to make an overall change to our commissions, that's something maybe we could talk about in the goal setting as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. After hearing what McElroy and Jonathan had said, I do fear when we don't have that longevity of that person coming into a commission to understand what our community needs versus somebody coming in anywhere from, you know, a month to however long they've been here, deciding the fate. Do our commissions have a hold? They do. So when we put it lightly, we say that our commissions really, they have to come back to us and that's all that matters. We're going to vote in the end anyway, right? Well, I've seen it over the years and these commissions have a lot of pull, a lot more than we give them credit for when they come to us with what they think. And depending on how we look at them or how we trust their judgment, a lot of times we go with their recommendation. That's how it's been in the past, right? I mean, am I seeing it different than that, or is that what we've done in the past? So when we say that they don't have, you know, as much influence on it, I think they do. I would be fearful that we go down this path, and if we hit, I mean, you saw what we've been through the last 4 years, politically speaking, let's just say. And let's just say on a committee or commission, you get new people moving in and a few of them get on the same committee and they're pushing for that more for a political stance than a what's best for the community stance. Then what happens? Well, it could sway what that commission does. And is that where we want to be? Is that the kind of committee and commissions we want to have? I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to side with Jonathan and McElroy on that, but it's not because I don't see the logic. It is hard to find volunteers. Over the years, I've seen it more than anybody. It's getting harder and harder to get people to join these committees and commissions. But I just think for an investment, whether it be a commission, a committee, a council, having that 1 year buffer where they can learn and understand what their city is first before they jump in seems more logical to me. That's just my perspective on it, but I thought I'd put it in there anyway. But I thank you for all your comments. So from here, we're going to have to vote whether to.
I will clarify, both of the applicants have been here longer than 6 months. So it's not like they moved here two weeks ago. They're longer than 6 months.
But we're still setting a precedent if we do it.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And what I'm hearing is that I think from both the differing opinions that you'd still like all the committees to run similar and not have certain standards for one committee when there's not for the other. So I guess we just would need a motion to either expand the 1 year residency requirement for all committees, if that's what you're looking at, or to remove it from you could go either way with your motion, remove it from DEI or expand it to all.
And before I let you go, Jonathan, we've got a retreat coming up. Am I right?
Mhm.
So is there any way we could put this off until after we've had our retreat to have more discussion, in-depth discussion about the direction
Yeah.
we'd like to go on this before I decide just in a meeting that this is how it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, one, I would like to do that too. I think let's review it. I mean, one of the common things I'm hearing here, I think everybody could agree, is manpower, right?
Yeah.
We can't find people to fill committees. If we're going to start marching down that and making changes so that we can fill the committees, then maybe we should take a look at committees again. And maybe we can look at combining or doing something where we can utilize people that we already have in a different capacity. I don't know. I don't like changing, I'm pretty rooted in the 1 year thing myself, but we're as a group, so.
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with that. I think, is that something we could do? Is that going to affect it? Okay, let's-
I would also say the youth member can be appointed today.
Yeah, that's
So if
not,
you guys, if you want to put off, if you all agree that you want to put it off until your meeting in
let's have more
February.
discussion on it, a little bit more in depth. Let's go
there
ahead and
Consensus
youth-
for that, for consensus for more
Yeah.
discussion, or?
So we'll appoint the youth member, but put the other
Put the
ones
rest
off
of it
until- Yeah.
onto our retreat.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can discuss committees more as a whole and kind of bring them all into alignment so they're similar across the board.
All right.
All right,
Okay.
then I move to approve the appointment of Arlo Anderly to the DEIC youth position to serve through 3/31/26.
Okay. I have a first on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving forward, we have the resolution 2025-001, a resolution of the Estacada City Council approving the expansion of the service area and extension of the term of the solid waste franchise agreement with Waste Connections of Oregon, Inc., DBA Aero Sanitary Service.
This-
Okay,
Yes,
this is the second.
this resolution formalizes the vote that was taken at your previous council meeting. So this will just formalize it into a resolution and has a mechanism for then Arrow's leadership to sign on to this also as an agreement like they did for their initial franchise.
Great. You've heard that. Do I have a motion on the floor?
I move to approve resolution 2025-001. A resolution of the Estacada City Council approving the expansion of the service area and extension of the term of solid waste franchise agreement with Waste Connections of Oregon, Inc., DBA Aero Sanitary Service.
Okay, I have a first, a second.
Second.
Yeah, first and second. Let's do a roll call on this, please.
Counselor Dolzall,
Yes.
Counselor McElroy,
Yes.
Counselor Metcalf,
Yes.
Counselor Prokop,
Yes.
Counselor Strobel,
Yes.
Counselor Tenbush.
Yes.
Mayor Drinkwine.
Yes, thank you very much for that. Okay, that is all I have on my list tonight. Any
Actually,
party?
there's a second page.
Oh, that's right.
We have always tried to keep it on one page. And we've rearranged the agenda sheet a little bit and it bumped a couple things to the second
All right.
page, which are just, it's a second vote on a couple of ordinances. Sorry about that.
Okay, second consideration for ordinance 2024-010, an ordinance for approving zone change and amending the comprehensive plan map and zoning map. So this is what, the second on this?
This is the second vote. You approved it. So you approved the zone change previous months ago. But in order to send it to the state of Oregon, they required us to formalize it into an ordinance. So you voted on the ordinance once. This is a second vote. One of these ordinances was for the R1 to R2 zone change up by the mobile home park. And then the second one was the zone change for the community center to go from R1 to downtown zone. So they've all been reviewed and approved by council previously. This again is just a administrative
Formality, okay.
formalization, yes.
Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve ordinance 2024-010, an ordinance approving zone change and amending the comprehensive plan map and zoning map.
Okay, a first, a second.
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 Okay, I got 2 seconds there. I think Paul's first. All right. We have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And the second consideration ordinance 2024-00011, an ordinance approving the zone change and amending the comprehensive plan map zoning map. Can I get a motion on this one as well?
I move to approve ordinance 2024-011, an ordinance approving zone change and amending the comprehensive plan map and zoning map.
Second.
I have a first and second. That was also a double whammy. Who was first on that one? I didn't- Jonathan? Okay, Jonathan. What was the first second on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that's the end of council business. I'm at the next citizen and community group comment, and I have one in front of me. Aaron Lamb.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time and Happy New Year as well. Some of you may remember from last time, but what I'm speaking of is my proposal to hopefully overturn the ban on cannabis retail in the industrial park, specifically related to an adjunct for a processing business or manufacturing business. As the leaseholder of 3045 Northwest Campus Drive, I respectfully request the city of Estacada to reconsider the ban on cannabis retail in the industrial park. My facility at 3045 Northwest Campus Drive currently houses my cannabis processing facility operation, and the vacant second unit was previously already licensed and being used by the previous tenant as a cannabis wholesale operation. A straightforward transition to retail aligns with the goals and policies outlined in the City of Estacada Comprehensive Plan, particularly in promoting economic development, sustainable land use, and efficient urbanization. Industrial park zoning in Estacada permits all other manufacturing businesses to use up to 15% of their space for retail purposes without additional approvals. However, cannabis businesses are arbitrarily excluded from this provision despite operating under similarly stringent regulations and having to obtain separate state licensing and approval. This discrepancy is neither equitable nor consistent with the comprehensive plan's goals of fostering economic diversity and supporting local businesses. In contrast, constructing a new retail facility elsewhere, especially right next to an existing park in the currently approved zoning area, would undermine the plan's emphasis on environmental preservation, efficient infrastructure use, and community compatibility. As far as concerns, I know that community benefits, it would be harder for the community to want to see a dispensary again coming into town is the first thing you see in entering Estacada, a big weed sign or, a place to stop for cannabis. I don't necessarily think that that's, what we should be, telling children, promoting that as the first thing you come in. It's easier to tuck it away into an industrial park. I can give multiple examples, including the city of Troutdale, where it is currently tucked into an industrial park, doing fine, not causing increased robberies or violence. And on the last page of the report that I submitted, you will see where my building is actually at on Campus Drive. I know that, all the cars coming in and out was a concern, last time that was mentioned. I'm on the very end of the road, right before Solder Timber. I have no one next to me, no one across from me. And I know that, cannabis has been an excluder of new businesses coming to the industrial park, has been mentioned as well. M2 just bought the building behind me. And again, Solder Timber is moving in down the way. I've been there for 8 months. I'm following all, things I'm supposed to do. I'm not creating any more smell or anything like that. And in closing, since it was already approved as a wholesale operation,
Keep going.
as it was already approved as a wholesale operation, the previous tenants that were in there were storing, upwards of 3,000 pounds of weed in there at a time. A dispensary comes nowhere close to that. 10 pounds on hand at a time, something like that. It's very minimal. It's not going to be adding to the smell that's already coming from the building. And I am in full support of adding more, restrictions as far as the, HVAC requirements, anything like that. I want to be in compliance with it. I don't want to be causing additional smells or anything like that. I'm not manufacturing edibles. I'm not growing weed. We do very minimal, processing of frozen weed, that's not adding a necessary smell to the industrial park and area. Again, thank you for your time, and I really appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Jerry, go ahead.
So the smell complaints, the odor complaints that we've been getting, is that from the previous people in the building, or is that from?
So I'm not sure about, I have not been told about any complaints. And again, if there are complaints, please, I would love to address them in any way that I can. We've started storing our dumpster actually inside the building until, garbage day, because again, the only thing that we're processing is fresh frozen weed. So there's no smell coming from frozen weed. It's like having, chicken or something in the freezer. There's not really a smell associated with it. The smell comes from when, after we process it and we throw it in the dumpster, I have to wait a week for somebody to come pick it up and do all those things. So we keep it now inside to minimize that smell, keep it, under, the odor control in the HVAC that we already have. Have there been any complaints about that facility in particular? I know that there are farms and other things in the
Well,
industrial.
I don't know that I don't know that there's been official like written complaints, but I
Okay.
know that we hear complaints when we're, when
And-
we're talking to people in the.
And when I first was getting started, in the first 3 to 4 months that I was in business, I took over that facility from, the previous tenants who had not really finished building it out all the way. I had to fix a bunch of things, tens of thousands of dollars in the HVAC and all these different things to try to get it to a functional state. So, there were definitely times like I definitely stored my dumpster outside, until a month ago when the previous city council meeting I was at, somebody mentioned that, the smell was a thing. And again, I'm around it so much, this is what I do for a living. This is all I've done for the past 10 years, all I've devoted my life to, learning about and building this business. So I don't necessarily smell the smell anymore. So when people mention it, I'm going to do everything I can to take care of it. My goal is not to be, intrusive into the community and, blasting the smell all over everywhere. I want to be in my building, staying away from everybody, but also able to, build my business in a sensible way.
Hey, Peter. did you have some-
Yeah, so we've received multiple formal complaints regarding the odor in the industrial park. We've worked with the OLCC on enforcement issues related to that. They've had to come in. I can't remember the names of the businesses where
Um,
there's been enforcement.
And I've only been there about 8 months.
And I'm sure it wasn't your business,
Okay.
but we have had formal
It's
complaints
down on
with
Noble.
issues.
Yeah, they just cowboy, doors open, just stuff thrown outside, just irresponsible.
And that's the thing is a lot of the
Disrespectful.
farms is, I'm assuming is probably what you'd be smelling, or if they're manufacturing edibles and they're cooking weed, that's a main source of where these kinds of smells are coming from. And I don't know if people, who were here before that rule was put in place, if they've since come up to regulation and are following everything that they need to be. But 100%, anything that's put into place, I would love to have my building inspected again, and anything else you put into place, I will follow. I want to do that, but I also want to try to grow my business.
Mr. Lamb, I mean, I want to encourage you, man, I told you I'd love to capture the revenue for the community.
And
Like
that's-
you got me on that, but the problem here is that it's not just you. There's 6 other companies in the industrial park that can't follow the rules as it is, right?
Yep.
As it's been described to you by members of the council, as you've heard from members of the community, as well as they've just stated that they've received multiple complaints. So this is not directed at you. But what you could do in all these things you're talking about, how you want to pioneer, is you could be the one to pioneer building a shop here and set the standard, bring that and do it the way you want. Be the first of its kind and capture all that revenue and show the way for these other guys and show them what they're missing. But quite frankly, we can't give up parking space. It might not be your specific building, but we can't give up stuff like that for the other people down there. And we can't make assumptions or exceptions for just you. And then
No,
when
that's-
they come, make exceptions for them as well, but
So-
on something that's not the design of that.
No, 100%. And I do have, I mean, again, with the parking and all of these other infrastructure things too, I mean, I have 11 spaces for parking at my building. We use 2, maybe 3 of them max, which leaves all those other spaces open for people to come park for potential retail. All the other businesses that are on Campus Drive, whether it be the union that's there, whether it's the metal, whatever manufacturing shop that they have there that they're selling, these business and M2, when they have meetings, they're lining the streets with cars. And to be singled out as the person who's going to bring more and more and more and more traffic to this area, I don't think is necessarily right. There's a limit to how much traffic a retail dispensary will bring. Even though it's the only retail dispensary in the area, there is already retail dispensaries all over Portland, Gresham, Damascus, everywhere, except coming out to this little area. You have one right off of 212, 7-8 miles away. So I don't know how much traffic it's going to bring. And I tried to email Alan and tried to work with him on trying to figure out how many cars he thinks it would bring and go back and forth with him, like you mentioned on that last time. But there's been an unwillingness to want to work on that as well. So I'm-
Peter, you had something. to
Yeah,
add,
so
Melanie?
I want to clarify some comments that have been made in this letter. When this was passed, and I worked on this and the mayor worked on this, and, Estacada, used Estacada's vision and values for determining how to work in the manufactured park and took a much more permissive approach than a lot of other jurisdictions, and there are a lot of warehouses that got built. So as a result of that, many that now are a different use. This 15% retail, the intent was that, for instance, for a manufacturer, like someone manufacturing cabinets, that it would essentially be a display room. So that, which is why only 5% can be wholesale. So normally, if you're in an industrial park, the amount of wholesale would be significant, space would be significantly more than the retail, because you don't want a lot of trip counts going into your manufacturing park. The reason for that 15% was so that people could display what they're capable of doing. So custom cabinet manufacturers, they might have a display room that showed, 10, 15 different types of cabinets. People could go there and say, those are the cabinets we want. They would get delivered to the house where they would be installed, or maybe the contractor would pick them up there, which is why we did the 5%. That was the intent. The intent was not to drive traffic. In the past, we've had people come in and say that there was a moratorium on facilities, and there's not. They're allowed to be located in the facility where they're allowed. I think that, I worked with Dan Leininger to write some of the regs on this industry, and it turns out having people that are completely unfamiliar with the industry writing regs is a bad idea, because we were wrong in a way that's so statistically significant that it's like improbable how wrong we were about stuff, because we didn't understand the industry. We didn't understand all the money would come in from Canada and California. If people want to have a discussion on this topic, then maybe the retreat would be the place to have that discussion, because now we have all the data and analytics that we didn't have 10 years ago. But to the extent that people are raising a claim about selective enforcement, that is not true at all. We've had, whether it was the folks that were making sausages that, they had to deal with they didn't do their due diligence before coming in. They didn't have the equivalent of a pre-app, and they thought they could sell out of that space. And we had to tell them, you can't. And nobody likes to have that conversation, but that's a conversation that we have for people that are trying to do retail that doesn't involve just display models. So when people talk about selective enforcement, I start thinking about legal risk. And so that's why I want to put on the record the clear intent of the council when they adopted this, and how we have consistently enforced it always. I'm not going to put the problems on everybody, but we've had significant complaints about odor. I've spent more time trying to figure out if there was some tool, like we use a tool to measure sound for odor, how viable all of that stuff. And we have lost businesses as a result of the perception. That's the reality. So,
Thank you, Peter.
At the same time that.
Excuse
Well,
me,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I apologize.
we're finished with the part where you,
Oh, I apologize. Sorry.
but we appreciate it. Melanie, did you have?
I was
you
just
wanna
gonna say
add-
staff could follow up with Aaron and we could sit down and talk about, because I'm getting the hesitancy of the council to move forward with anything like this. We could talk about it at goal setting again,
Mhm.
if the council's interested in that, but I think you and I should sit down and talk about.
That'd be great.
the
That's
options.
all I wanted was a
Yeah.
discussion. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Make sure I have your email address.
I
Or,
will get that to you.
okay,
before the end.
thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we're at the end of our discussion tonight, so we will go into mayor and council reports and comments. I'll start off with you, Paul.
I do want to check in. We've got the open position. Is that something we can discuss tonight?
Or did we want to go the 10 days?
And I am sorry that I was not here for the oaths of office, but I understand that Counselor-elect Crossett is not going to be able to serve. And I think Counselor McElroy, you can confirm that you had spoken with.
Yes, I
Them.
spoke with his wife.
Okay. So in that case, what staff would like to do is go ahead and get this posted so we could get you a new person to appoint. If the council, if there's consensus to declare this vacant, because he's not able to serve, unfortunately, we'll post an opening on the city website and start getting that information out there. I believe it's 21 days it has to be posted for. And then we'll get the applicants back to you as soon as possible. So.
And if Paul would continue to serve until the position's filled.
Okay. All right, is council
So
good with all those?
that's according to the charter. Mhm.
I'd too like to have one thing done, if it's possible, Melanie, before you update our plaques over there.
Okay.
For our council members.
Mhm.
Crossett, he did everything right.
Okay.
And he
thank
was a
you.
good man for our community. He was elected officially by the people for this community. Is there a way we can get his name entered
Mhm.
into that plaque on the basis that he was elected?
Let me check into that, yeah.
And
I know he
just
was-
have him on there as one who was willing to serve.
Okay,
And maybe he didn't serve a term, but I think he at least deserves that.
sure, we can check in. I know he was never able to officially take office, but we could check into that
Yeah.
since he was elected, and we do value the community's voice in the elections when they come and vote, and that is highly valued, so
All right, thank you.
I'll
I
look
appreciate
into that.
All right, Paul, go ahead.
Just look forward to being with you all for a little bit longer and thank you for that. And thanks for staff for getting us going tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. John.
Thank you to the Citizens of Estacada for trusting me with this position. I will do my best, and thank you for the warm welcome, and I look forward to the year to come.
Jerry.
First off, I just want to congratulate the newly elected officials again. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys a lot. Done a lot to change my mindset and my outlook over the last little while working with you, so I appreciate it. I really appreciate staff and all the hard work that you guys put in. Even around the holidays, I know you guys put in some good time. So appreciate everybody up here, and I appreciate everybody that showed up tonight and showed up on Zoom. And thank you guys for trusting me with the position of council president for this year.
So.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the community as well. It's not lost on me that, trust it's not given easily these days. So I really appreciate being elected and given the opportunity to come up here and try to serve your values and your guys' desires in shaping the future for our kids. Really, that's what this is about to me. And doing something that we can be really proud of, put our names on, look back on someday. Hopefully our grandkids will get to say, my grandpa did that. That's what I'm hoping for. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that in a capacity that we can make a difference and continue to be a sword in a fight for what we believe in. I think that's super important as well. So I just want to say thank you. And I want to encourage people. It's a new year. Those of you that were here tonight, thank you so much for being here. This is how we get stuff done. This is how we understand what you want, what's important to you guys. But on that, we'd like you guys to come and be here. Tell us what's going on in the community, what needs our attention, what's important to you. Right? Like all these things are super important to us. And the more that you're involved, the more direct action that we can take to get things done that's measurable to you, the people that matter. So just want to say, bring on 2025.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's lovely to see all these faces out there. Congratulations to Councilors Dolezal, Metcalf, and Mayor Drinkwine. I look forward to working with you in the next couple of years.
Thank you. Mike.
Thank the community members that came in to sit in on the meeting. The short one relatively
We still have
speaking,
you
but
already, so.
it's glad to see so many faces out there, and thank you staff for preparing for the meeting and everything. And congratulations to everyone that took their oath today. Look forward to working with you guys next year.
That was great. Again, thank you everyone for allowing me the opportunity to serve you again. I am a proud man and I'm proud to serve you. I think going forward, our city's in for a lot of changes. You know, we're growing fast and it's scary sometimes to me. But I've seen so much from the beginning to now, and we've come so far. I hope to continue that growth in a safe and planned way. Let's not rush it. Let's slow it down. Let's think about this and let's do it right. As your mayor, I'll do the best I can to make that happen. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. And this meeting is adjourned.